Hello everyone, I'm continuing my English studies. Today I'm going to write a story. My homework was to write a story about friendship that I had, and I need to practice to use these phrases like invite alone, drift apart, hang around, fall out, bump into, stop by, take two, warm two. Synonyms, by the way. Make up, come between, and associate with. I wanted people my own age to spend time with. Sorry, not associate with, but socialize with, party with, on the same wavelength, click with, like understand, have a mutual friend, bonded over, confined in, hit it off with. And that's not all. Also, my teacher recommended me to use some phrases about habits. I don't remember them, so let me try to find them on our site. Habits. Maybe this. Not sure. Yes. But this rule, I don't remember this rule at all. We can use reduce relative clauses by using present and past participles instead of a relative pronoun and a full verb form. The people living in the slums. What are slums?
Slum.
Slum. It's like poor. How to say it? It's like the place where very poor people live, maybe. Slums. Squalid and overcrowded urban street or district inhabited by very poor people. Very poor and crowded area. Especially of a city. Okay. So the people living in the slums were offered new flats. Wow. The people who were living in the slums. Okay, it's just a rule. Some of the houses built near the river were prone to flooding. Maybe flooding. Let me check it. Flooding. Okay, flood, maybe flood. Yeah, flood.
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 Flood. Flooding, наверное, да? Oh my god, I just switched to my native language, so I'm sorry. Flooding.
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 Flooding, yeah, flooding. So some of the houses built near the river were prone to flooding. Oh my god, it's a very bad situation. Some of the houses which were built near the river were prone to flooding. Okay, it's not about habits, it's just some grammatical variation. And habits. Present habits. Present No, it's present participles. No, it's not a rule about habits. No, my teacher meant something different. Tend to, I remember the phrase to have tendency to, maybe. Yeah, hang around in between. I remember that we have studied it, but where? Complicated. Just some text. Answers for questions for the text. Reduced relative clauses. No, it's a different topic. Different topic completely. Maybe I need to switch somehow. I'm not very good at navigating this. Maybe lesson A1. Yeah, I feel that I'm closer. For some reason I cannot go to the last page. Maybe because I need to write here something? No. Yeah, I don't understand this side completely. Maybe lesson A2. Let's see. Always. Yes, so this one. Look at the habits in the boat. Uh, There are some questions about my friendship. Maybe I can use it. So let me go back and discuss these habits. Habit, and how to write, how to speak about them. Yeah, I believe it this exercise 1, 2. It may be 1, 3. And maybe this one too. Okay, so always and present continuous, future simple, I believe, and she voiced her opinions. Yes, future simple. I tend to They were always past continuous. I kept something, yes, about habits. Used to would. Yeah, there was some difference between used to and would. But I don't remember what was it. When I was young, my aunt would bring me a gift every time she visited. I used to have lots of friends. I believe used to is used, can be used with states. Maybe not. I used to live. Zach used to be. But my friend and I would meet. Every day after school, my friend and I would cycle. When I was young, my aunt would bring me. Yeah, let me check this. Used to versus would. Used to can be used to talk about past states as well as past repeated actions and habits, but would is only used to talk about past habits. Past habits, not repeated actions and not states. Would is not used to talk about past states. So it's a subtle difference here. Okay, so I need to use used to, I believe. Used to and would correctly. Would. Story about my friendship. About one of my friendship. My friendship. Story about friendship. Okay. Also, I need to use tend to, and this I don't know. Maybe this words like always. Always, always, always. Maybe always. Always. Kept doing, is always doing, something like that, always doing. Will do something, tend to do, by the way. Something like that. Okay. And those words from the screenshots. And what is this? What is this? Wow. I'm sorry. What is this? Adverbs of frequency. I can use them too. Always, usually, sometimes. Sometimes. Don't always, don't usually. Never. For the reasons on Sundays. We're tired in the morning. If you are tired in the morning, 60%. I go to bed before 11 p.m. 10%. Why 10%? Because no continuous. We haven't discussed this, by the way, with my teacher, so maybe I don't need to know the. Maybe I don't have to know this. Nicola is late, 40%. My sister phones. What is this about? I need to add an adverb here. So there's no adverb of frequency. I need to add. Okay, let me. Never, hardly ever, sometimes, often, usually, always. Okay. Maybe let me write them in this case. So never, hardly ever, sometimes, often, usually, always. So never 0%, hardly ever 10%, sometimes 40%, often 60%, usually 80%, and always 100%. Okay. Okay, let me start. Story about friendship. I don't know about who I would like to write. I have this friend, my friend David. Also, I had the friendship with a girl at one moment of my life. Maybe I could write about her in this case. Okay, when and how you met your friend. Your first impressions of each other. How you bonded. Things you have in common. Ways in which you are different. Things you did together in the past. Things you tend to do together in the present. Habits one of you has which annoy the other. Okay. If I will write about my friend Inna, is a girl. I had a friendship with her a long time ago, but it was a close one. But now we don't talk a lot. But nevertheless, where have you met your friend? Okay, I met Inna. Maybe for first time. I first met Inna. Can I say that I first met Inna? Near to her college, maybe near to her college. Does met implies that we physically, like in person, like we met in person, or maybe we can met on the internet. Okay, I first met in near to her college. College. Let me check pronunciation.
College.
College. So I first met in near to her college. How I met her? We had how to say it even? We had maybe we became to know each other before that, maybe on the internet. We become to know each other. We became to know each other maybe a few weeks before that, maybe. I first met in near to her colleague. My God.
College.
I first met in near to her college. We became to know each other a few weeks before that. And now we met in person for the first time. I don't know. I met in near to her college. We became to know each other a few weeks before that. But we met in person. But at that moment, We met in person for the first time, maybe. I'm not sure about grammar and naturalness of these sentences at all. Okay. Your first impressions of each other. Uh, First impressions. Because we uh, have already known each other a little bit beforehand. A little bit. The first impressions weren't surprising, maybe. Surprising. But it still was interesting to meet a person you know person. Doesn't sound right. A person in person. But still was interesting to meet in person. I have noticed that she has very nice hair. Yes, it was one of my first impressions of her. Okay, how you burned it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure about coherence of this text. I would like it to flow like a river. I met in. Maybe I can use met for online. Don't know when you start chatting with a person. Meets meaning. And it should happen to come into the presence of company, touch or join, gathering, organize it. Let me try to translate from my native language in this case. Get quiet. Oh my gosh. We met yesterday. We met on the internet. Yeah, I believe we can say that. Okay. Met on the internet. Met her on the internet. It's okay. Phrase. Okay. I met my friend on the internet. But after a few weeks, or maybe a few months, we met in person for the first time near her college. Because we have already known each other a little bit, the first impressions weren't any surprising. Can I say that? Any surprising, but it still was interesting to meet her in person. I have noticed that she has very nice hair, and that her voice is a bit childish. Okay. Your first impressions of each other. I don't know what her impressions of me were. I'm not sure what her impressions or what her first impressions are about of me. I'm not sure what her first impressions of me were. Because she didn't said anything like that to me at that moment. But since then, we started to go out, maybe. Systematically, it's rather academic term, like sounds. But since then, we started to go out from time to time, maybe from time to time. Okay, used to, would, tend to, never, hardly, sometimes, or maybe sometimes. From time to time, I believe it's like sometimes, so I will mark it as used sometimes. Yes. Okay, we have done this and this. How you bound it? At that point of my life, I was interested in poetry, yeah, poetry, and she was too. That's how that was the topic we bonded over. Maybe bonded over. We bonded over at first. Bonded over at first. Okay. Things you have in common. It's the thing we have in common. Also, we both were interested. We both maybe used to. Does used to means it's stopped? I believe so. Does used to mean it's stopped? Yes, no longer true. So I need to use it correctly. Also, we both usually, always, never. I have a lot of other words to use. Oh my god. Came alone, drift apart, hang around. Maybe I need to use hang around in this case. Hang around. But go out is like hang around. But okay. But since then, we started to hang around from time to time. Yes. Have an argument, bump into. It's hard to use in this story. Stop by. Make a short visit to a person or place. Maybe I stopped by. I met my friend on the internet. And after a few weeks or maybe a few months, I stopped by her colleague, and we, for the first time, met in person. Okay. Okay, let me mark it. Stop by. What I have used and hang around. I use them. Okay. Bump into. Stop by. Take two. Start to like. Take two. Round two. I can use them here, I believe. I've met my friend on the internet. and we started and we take to warm to and we immediately took to each other. Can I say that? Maybe. I met my friend on the internet and we immediately took to each other. After a few weeks or maybe a few months, I stopped by her college and we met in person for the first time. Okay, I used took to warm to, yes. Yeah. Come between, cause trouble between people. Can be complicated to use, okay. Socialize with, spend time with, party with, on the same wavelengths. Maybe on the same wavelengths. Because we have already known each other a little bit, I knew that we were on the same wavelengths. So the first impressions of the real meeting, maybe I don't need to write this, but the question was about first impressions. Because we have already known each other a little bit, I knew that I don't like how it goes, to be honest. I met my friend on the internet and we immediately took to each other. After a few weeks or maybe a few months, I stopped by her college and we met in person for the first time. Because we have already known each other a little bit, I knew that we were on the same wavelengths, yes. That we were on the same wavelengths. So the first maybe personal. So to meet her in person, but it still was interesting to meet her in person. I've noticed that she had maybe very nice, I don't know, she has maybe in this case. Maybe I ask my teacher. Has very nice hair and that her voice is a bit childish. On the same wavelengths, I used it. Okay. Used to tend to. I've noticed that she has very nice hair and that her voice is a bit childish. I'm not sure what her first impressions of me were because she didn't say anything about that to me at the moment. But since then, we started to not first impressions, I don't know. Maybe I just delete this. I don't think that it's that important. It's a bad childish, but since then, we tended to hang around from time to time. Can I say that? I'm not sure. Tend to have tendency to. My family and I tend not to speak too much during this week. I tend to listen rather than speak. By the way, it's true fact of me. But since then, we started to hang around from time to time. Okay. We I don't know, tended, maybe tend. To be likely to behave in a particular way or have a particular characteristic. Tend, need past tense. Tended, yes. Tended, so it's tended, yes. Tended. Okay, I believe so. We tend to visit various events together and go out. We tended to visit various events and go out together. Together. Okay. It's tends to. Here. Tend to. Also, I need to use nearly, hardly ever, sometimes, often, usually, always. Maybe sometimes. We tend to. I believe tend implies frequency. Yes, we tended to visit various events and go out together. Okay, have you bonded? Have we bonded? Various event together. At that point of my life, I was interested in poetry, as she was too. As she was too. That was the topic we bonded over at first. Okay, that's enough. Things you have in common, ways in which you are different. That was the topic then we started to hang around from time to time. We tended to visit various events. Events maybe. Oh my god.
Event.
Yes. Events. And go out together. At that point of my life, I was interested in poetry. So, and she was too, okay. That was the topic we bonded over first. How, in which ways we were different and what we had in common. We both also we both were interested in music and literature. Also, we both were interested in music and literature. But at the same time, she has a very different character than the. At the same time, she has a very different character than I am. So this is how different, yes. And I need to use these words. Share personal things with them. For example, maybe share personal things with them. No, it's about trust, I believe. I'm thinking about this confide in. I know I can share personal things with them to have a mutual friend. Oh, by the way, we had a mutual friend. I need to use this phrase in this case. Okay. I met my friend on the internet because we had a mutual friend, and we immediately took to each other. To have a mutual friend. Okay. Some socialize with party with, click with, bonded over, confiding. I know I can share personal things with them to confide in. Confide is like to trust someone, I believe. I knew I can share personal things with them. I knew I can. Okay. Then we started to hang around from time to time. We tended to visit various events and go out together. At that point of my life, I was interested in poetry, and she was too. That was the topic we bonded over at first. Also, we both were interested in music and literature. At the same time, she maybe despite the fact that we had a very different characters. I was able to understand a few people my age on the what? I was able to understand a few people my age on where? Click with. I don't know. Immediately hit it off with confiding. I can use confiding somehow, I believe. Also, we both were interested in music and literature, despite the fact that we had a very different characters. We used to, I don't know, we would kept doing, always doing, will do. Maybe we'll speak. We socialize a lot, maybe it's not, I don't know. Because despite the fact we had very different characters, what things you will do together in the past. Maybe I need to use would in this case. Despite the fact that we had very different characters, we would talk a lot. Maybe we talk a lot. Don't know. I need to say something about our differences. But the fact that we had very we had rather different characters, to use a more interesting word. We would talk, maybe we socialize a lot, I don't know. We would talk a lot, and I started to introduce her to my friends, and I start to introduce her to my friends. My friends maybe too. To my other friends, maybe my friends. I don't know. Sounds strange phrase, strange sentence. Also, we were both interested in music and literature, despite the fact that we had rather different characters. We would talk a lot, and I even started, maybe even started to introduce her to my friends. What were the things you will do together in the past? I think I already wrote about these events and so on. Then together in the present. Tent I used. No? Tent to. Tent. Yes, I used it. Tent to. It's different. It's about habits. I even started to introduce her to my friends. We would hardly ever, sometimes, often, usually. Sometimes I used it already. We would go, not party, but to various places. I don't know, to various places. We would go to various places. Sometimes, hardly ever, often, tend to would. We would go to various places. But the fact that we had rather different characters, we will talk a lot, and I even start to introduce her to my friends. We will go to different places, have some time together, don't know. Have some time together. Go to various places, have some time together. But I used to consider, I don't know, but I used to always doing, but I used to, maybe after a while, is it 3 words, after a while? Yes. After a while, I would consider her as one of my closest friends. But the fact that we had rather different characters, we would talk a lot, and I even started to introduce her to my friends. We would go to various places and have some time, and spend some time together. After a while, I would consider her as one of my closest friends. And what next? Together, done together in the past, habits one of you has which annoy the other. After a while, I would consider her as one of my closest friends. What annoyed me a bit about her, what annoyed me a bit about her was her tendency tendency maybe I'll start like this. She was quite how to write it. Oh my god. Quite. She was quite how to say, goal oriented, Goal-oriented. Don't know. What? Stop it working. Purposeful? No. No, it's not that. Purposeful. Purposeful. I don't think that it's the word. Let me ask ChatGPT, maybe. Goal-oriented, yeah, I was thinking about it. Determined. Determined. Ambitious. Ambitious, maybe. Oh, I can use all of them. She was quite ambitious. Goal-oriented and determined. Determined. Determined.
Determined.
Determined. And determined. This was inspiring and annoying at the same time. Because she would sometimes, often, hardly ever, maybe she would hardly ever think that something is something is not easy for another person. Something is not that easy for another person, and she had this tendency to criticize people around her for their weaknesses and absence of maybe this goal orientation and so on. Absence of ambition. Absence of ambition. For their weaknesses and absence of ambition. That's it. Habits one of you has which annoys. I don't know what annoyed her. I believe and she was quite open, quite open about her thoughts. I was very different. I was and am, maybe. I was very different in about her thoughts. I was very indifferent in that matter. And I even think this could annoy her because I was not ready to it because it may seem to her that I was not ready to confined in. confined in here, confined here, which wasn't true, by the way. I believe it's enough. I didn't use used to, but it's not that complicated. But I didn't use a lot of words. Party with, socialize with, click with, have a mission bonded over, confined in. Invite alone. Maybe invite alone. I can use invite alone a lot here. Not a lot, but I believe I can use it. Since then, we started to hang around from time to time. We tended to visit various events and go out together. At that point of my life was an interesting point, and she was blah blah blah. Also, blah 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 blah. My friends, we would go to where I would invite her alone. I would usually invite her alone, and we will go to various places and spend some time to get them. So I used what invite alone. Drift apart. I can use it. Argument. I believe we haven't had an argument in our friendship. More or less. Bump into from to maktub. Come between and drift apart. I can use drift apart. After several years, we drifted apart, mostly because she moved to Moscow and I changed a bit as a person. Changed a bit as a person. Maybe I don't need to include this. After several years, we drifted apart. Drifted apart. Okay, I can keep it, and I changed a bit as a person. Drifted apart. Since then, maybe our differences started to come between maybe us, and it became maybe less interested. Talk to each other, I don't know. I'm not sure about this. After several years, we drifted apart, mostly because she moved to Moscow, and I stayed in my hometown. Yes. Since then, come between. Since then, our differences were becoming larger and larger. Maybe our word reuse. I don't want to complicate it a lot. So several years we drifted apart, mostly because she moved to Moscow and I stayed in our hometown. Uh, yeah, yes and no. More or less true. Okay, I deleted. So I didn't use come between, but it's more or less more. I don't need to use everything. Yes, it's too complicated. So I believe I'll stop here. I'll just write it once more. Story about friendship. I met my friend Dina on the internet because we had a mutual friend, and we immediately took to each other. After a few weeks or maybe a few months, I stopped by her college and we met in person for the first time. Okay. Because we have already known each other a little bit, I knew that we were on the same wavelengths, but it still was interesting to meet her in person. I've noticed that she has very nice hair and that her voice is a bit childish. Since then we started to hang around from time to time. We tended to visit various events and go out together. At that point of my life I was interested in poetry and she was too. That was the topic we bonded over at first. Also, we both were interested in music and literature. Despite the fact that we had rather different characters, we would talk a lot and I even started to introduce her to some of my friends. I would usually invite her alone and we would go to various places and spend some time together. After a while, I would consider her as one of my closest friends. She was quite ambitious, goal-oriented, and determined. This was inspiring and annoying at the same time, because she would hardly ever think that something is not that easy, not that not that simple, maybe. I don't know, for another person, and she had this tendency to criticize people around her for their weaknesses and absence of ambition. And she was quite open about her thoughts. I was very different in that matter. I even think this trait, I even think that this trait of mine could annoy her a little, because it might maybe might is it might don't know. Should I put may in past tense here? Because it might seem to her, could seem to her maybe. Might. Yeah, might. Okay. Because it might seem to her that I was not ready to confide in her, which wasn't true, by the way. After several years, we drifted apart, mostly because she moved to Moscow and I stayed in our hometown. But there was something else that came between us. I'm not sure what it was. But our relationship, our friendship started to something since around that time. I think that we just changed, that we both just changed in different as a as people in different ways. Maybe. I'm not sure what it was, but our friendship started to maybe decline. Cease maybe even. Cease. Cease. Oh my god. How to write it? To cease maybe this way? Yes. I'm not sure what it was, but our friendship started to cease since around that time. I think, maybe I suppose, I think that we both just changed as people in different ways. Now we almost never, well, now we almost never talk. Now we almost never talk. Almost never used always and never. No, almost I didn't have almost, just never. So that's it. Let me read it again because I changed it a bit. And that will be it. A story about friendship. Maybe a friendship, because I had different friendships in my life and it's one of them. Story about a friendship. I met my friend on the internet because we had a mutual friend and we immediately took to each other. After a few weeks or maybe a few months, I stopped by her college and we met in person for the first time. Because we have maybe had in this case, because I use past tense everywhere. Because we had already known each other a little bit, I knew that we were on the same wavelengths, but it still was interesting to meet her in person. I've noticed that maybe I need to use past tense everywhere. I noticed that she had very nice hair and that her voice is a bit childish. Since then we started to hang around from time to time, tended to visit various events and go out together. At that point of my life I was interested in poetry and she was too. That was the topic we bonded over at first. Also we both were interested in music and literature. Um, Poetry is part of literature, but it's just a part of, okay, maybe history. Don't know. Despite the fact that we had rather different characters, we would talk a lot and I even started to introduce her to some of my friends. I would usually invite her alone and we would go to various places and spend some time together. After a while I would consider her as one of my closest friends. She was quite ambitious, goal-oriented, and determined. This was inspiring and annoying at the same time, because she would hardly ever think that something is not that simple for another person, and she had this tendency to criticize people around her for their weaknesses and absence of ambition. Maybe accomplishments, something like that. Okay. And she was quite often and she was quite open about her thoughts. I was very different in that matter. I even think that this trait of mine could annoy her a little, because it might seem to her that I was not ready to confide in her, which wasn't true, by the way. After several years, we drifted apart, mostly because, maybe not several, maybe, I don't know, okay. Mostly because she moved to Moscow and I stayed in our hometown. But there was, I don't know, can I use apostrophe s to contract was? But there was something else that came between us. I'm not sure what it was, but our friendship started to cease around that time. I think that we both just changed as people and in different ways. Can I say that? I think so, yes. Now we almost never talk. Okay, that's it. Story about friendship. Friendship. Where do I need to put it? That's a question. Homework. Maybe here. Oh my gosh, a lot of mistakes. Also, it's not that hard. It's not that important. While it's about comma again. Ambitious, ambitious, ambitious. Little what? What the it's about comma again. I'm not sure that that's important. Which wasn't true, by the way. Okay. Came, yes. Yes, came. Maybe. Yes. Hmm. Don't use since. Okay. Seldom, rarely. But I wanted to use never, so never. Internet. Internet? Internet. Okay. In my life. Okay. In my life. Okay. Some point in my life. At that point in my life. Maybe I can use of. I'm not sure about this. At that point of my life. Point in my life. In my life. In my life. All my life. In my life. In my life. In my life. All my life. It's a different meaning. Okay, in my life. That's it. Stop. Have I done everything? No. I cannot submit it right now. Okay, maybe I just send her this text separately. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.